Royal Highness, Rosalinda Maria Montoya Fiore, Princesa de Constanza.
Hi! So I actually haven't said anything for this vlog yet, so this is the first clip. And basically the idea of this video is that we're continuing bookoplathon, but the thing is today is actually already the 29th of September. I have only today and tomorrow to finish up my September TBR, which is going to be impossible, but we're gonna try. But basically the idea I had for this bookoplathon part 2 vlog was that I'm going to attempt to finish everything in 24 hours, not in one day, but basically a timer method. You would have seen me start the timer already. It's actually now at 7 hours and 41 minutes in. Yeah, I'm not sure whether I can actually do this before the end of September, but I've only been reading one book so far because that one book took me quite a while to read and finish, but I recently finished it like last night, so let me talk to you about it. But basically I finished Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. It's non-fiction, and if you know me, you will know that I don't really read a lot of non-fiction, so it took me quite a while, and it's quite a large book. Okay, so basically what Maybe You Should Talk to Someone is about the author's life as a therapist and her patients and their encounters. So it's basically like a memoir, autobiography kind of thing. It's also about her getting a therapist for herself also, because she needs help with her personal issues in life as well. So it's about how she's both a therapist to her patients and a patient to her therapist, and like this different dynamic. And all her patients have different problems that she's trying to help them with, and it's really very interesting. But okay, before I continue talking about it, let's talk about trigger warnings first. Trigger warnings for ableism, alcoholism, cancer, car accident, child death, death of a parent, depression, domestic violence, grief, hospital scenes, infertility, miscarriage, profanity, suicide, and suicidal ideation. This is a book that I think you would need a lot of time to read because it's interesting, but it's not a book that will keep grabbing your attention so that you want to keep going back to read. That's just my opinion of the book, because I'm someone who doesn't read a lot of non-fiction. So it kind of took me quite long to read. I think I took like 11 days in total to finish, which was like a large chunk of September. It was actually recommended by somebody on Bookstagram, so thank you to that friend who recommended it to me. And it's really very interesting because I think you know that I'm a psychology major in uni, and it's like the first time where I've read a book that has so many of the theories that we learn in psychology in a book. So it's kind of interesting to see that thing that I can relate to, which I have learned in class, and how it's applied in an occupation, which is a therapist, and how it's used in real life in their sessions, and how they analyze their patients and help to deal with their problems. And it's really very interesting, just that it took me some time to read. I don't read non-fiction because I don't think that I can read non-fiction. That's just a thing that I do. But yeah, basically it's a book that I enjoyed, but not necessarily a favorite of mine. It's just a book that I'm glad that I read. There were a lot of quotes from the book that I liked and I kind of highlighted in my ebook. If you're interested in the book, do pick it up and try it out for yourself. I think it's quite okay, a good read. It's like not a non-fiction book that will deter me from wanting to read it in a sense, just that it's a slower paced kind of book. So with that book done, I am 5 books out of my 9 books in, slightly more than halfway, and I already started reading the next book, which is also non-fiction, but this time it's a celebrity memoir, which is I'm Glad My Mum Died. Yeah, and I really am hooked for this one, which is quite surprising. Okay, but maybe not that surprising because everybody has been reading it and raving about it. but it's really very interesting. And I'm listening to the audiobook which the author Jeanette McCurdy narrates herself, and it's really fascinating to hear her voice and recognize the voice from when I watched iCarly when I was a child. And now that she's older, she's writing this book, and it's really very interesting. The writing is quite good. The tone makes me want to continue listening to her story. It's like her story is so like a horror, very terrible, because there's a lot of trigger warnings for that, but I'll give you trigger warnings at the end when I talk about my full review. But just know that if you want to pick up this book, make sure you read up on the trigger warnings, because it's really a lot. And based on the 20% that I am currently at, it's already quite a lot, and you can see how the mother has such a large influence on her. It's not healthy. Okay, so let me talk about the plot for that first. It just starts off from when she was 6, I think, and her relationship with her mother, and how eventually she started to act as a child actor. The mother's aspirations were to become an actress, and so she kind of like pinned that onto Jeanette. She's very controlling of Jeanette in comparison to Jeanette's brothers. Not sure why, maybe because the mom sees herself in Jeanette, the potential, and she wants to make sure that Jeanette succeeds because she herself couldn't as an actress or something like that. There's all these things about how even until she was 8, which I am currently at the book, her mom insists on wiping her off after Jeanette finishes pooing, so she has to be in the stall with her, and she says like, oh, I need to help you do this until you're at least 10 because I don't want you to stay in your underwear or whatever. Okay, so maybe Jeanette wants like a different ice cream flavor, and then her mom will just tear up and be like, you don't want your original flavor? That's the flavor that you've wanted for the past few years. You're changing, I don't know you anymore. This kind of like gaslighting, manipulative statements that makes Jeanette just wants to make her mother happy, and so she'll be like, oh, never mind, it's okay, I'll just eat the original flavor even though she doesn't want to. And it's just so, oh my gosh. And there was like a really intense scene with the mom and the dad, because if the dad is late by 3 hours, and the mom will be like, oh, where do you go, are you cheating on me, this kind of thing, like get out of my house. Then she'll take the knife and whatever. There's like a part where she was advancing on him, and then he backed away, she tripped, and then she just started yelling abuse, and it's like, oh my god, oh my god, like, oh gosh. And she's like the kind of person where she will shout at employees and whatever in public, or like scold them, why do you not have the best facilities for my child? Or even to the acting agency, like, oh, why didn't you submit my daughter's application for this particular role? You don't like my child, you're biased, that kind of stuff. And it's just very, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to depict it in words, but it's, oh gosh, like the audiobook is so good. It's a book that I think I wouldn't even need to read the book itself. I can just listen to Jeanette just talking about the book itself, because it's so good, the audiobook. But the best reading experience is to just read the book and listen to it at the same time. It's like a shit show that is going to happen, because you know what has happened based on what I've seen from other people's reviews. So it's like, I'm kind of, it's like I'm watching the car burn, but I can't do anything. It's so good. I'm not sure, but it might become one of my favorite books I've read this year. It's so terrifying, like her experience with her mom. I don't know, it's just so good. I don't know how to explain this. I don't even know if I can finish the 24 hours within today and tomorrow, because uni is still ongoing and I have to write an essay, 2 essays actually. But yeah, we shall see. We shall try our best. Yeah, I will leave you now, and I will come back when I have more updates.
I got movies that haven't even been released yet. Hey, 50% off. What? Hey, wait.
What do you think? I think you should never do that in public.
Regardless, I had a fun time at the party. There were red and green chiffon curtains hanging from the walls, unsold Christmas trees lined the room. I learned how to play blackjack. I really felt loved by Dad that day.
So this is going to be the last clip for this video where I wrap up what I read, which isn't a lot actually. Okay, so basically I failed this challenge. I didn't hit 24 hours. From the thumbnail, you would have seen that there's a timing there, right? That's actually the timing where I stopped at. So I only got into 19 hours and 39 minutes and I only read 2 books. Yeah, it's really kind of a fail because it means that I didn't get to 4 more books. Let me just let you know what book I finished. I basically finished I'm Glad My Mom Died, a very controversial book title. Let's start with trigger warnings first, as always. Trigger warnings for alcohol, alcoholism, anxiety, blood, cancer, child abuse, death, eating disorder, specifically anorexia and bulimia, emesis, numerous and graphic, emotional abuse, fat phobia, religion, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, sexually explicit scenes, terminal illness, gaslighting, manipulation, emotional blackmail. Really a book with a lot of trigger warnings. It's just a very heavy book and people have said that it is very triggering for them, so do take note of these trigger warnings and make sure not to go into them if you're not ready for it. I really enjoyed reading it. It feels weird to say because this is like her memoir of her traumatic experience, but the way that she wrote the book, the way that she narrated the audiobook, the way that she recounts her whole story is really interesting to see. As I mentioned before in my previous clip, I think I have said that it's like you're watching a car approaching a bridge that has broken but you can't do anything to stop it. It's like so many emotions. This book might end up being in one of my favorite reads of 2022 and I'm really very impressed because she can write very well and the way that she narrates the audiobook is also very intriguing. There were also some parts, I only managed to catch one part, but I saw like another video about another booktuber reviewing this and the person also said that Jeanette's voice would break in the audiobook. For my audiobook, I only heard her voice break like once. Not break, but it's kind of like she paused and then she took a deep breath and you can just feel the emotion of her saying that sentence. And it's really, I've never listened to audiobooks that have been narrated by the author before, but I guess I would have to read more of those because it's so good and only the author knows how to convey what they're trying to say. Not that other audiobook narrators can't, but it's just that this story is so personal to her and I'm just glad that she narrated it herself and she truly speaks from her heart about her story. I must say though, because this is the first time I'm reading a celebrity memoir, it's the first time that I've been interested in a particular celebrity and wanted to read it. And I know iCarly, I've watched iCarly and I've watched Sam and Cat, so especially when she got to those parts, I can kind of relate to the part where she was acting in it. And it's also quite interesting because when she talks about certain scenes, I tried to look them up on Google also and it kind of appears, so it's kind of like intriguing. And oh my gosh, the things that her mom did to her are really so terrible. I have like 75 highlights in my ebook, mostly yellow, which means like what the hell, because like, oh my god, the things that she says to her own child, the things that she does to manipulate Jeanette and project her own wishes onto her child is just something a parent should never do. And she even calls her like names at some point in time. Her grandmother does it to her also, so I guess that's where she got it from. But oh my gosh, I feel so bad for her, and it's also like I feel so proud of her for where she is now, how she has managed to overcome all of that. And it's like, you obviously know that when she says in the book like, oh, it's going to be like a great time, as a reader you can tell that it's not going to be, how she's going to start her bulimia journey and she thinks it's going to help her, but you obviously know it's not from an external point of view. But as the person experiencing it themselves, they would have believed it would actually help them and things like that. And it's just, oh my god, so difficult to even like try to think about what the person is feeling. I'm not sure if this is spoilers, so I'm just gonna put a spoilers, but she eventually seeks help from a therapist. It kind of brings me back to when I read Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, which was the book that I just finished also. So it's not in me to read 2 non-fiction books back to back, and not in me to even read 2 non-fiction books in a month. It just kind of happened, and I personally enjoyed I'm Glad My Mom Died more, but that's just because I guess it's a celebrity memoir and I know this person and I wanted to know more of what she has experienced. But in terms of Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, it's interesting in the viewpoint that where I can actually read about what therapists have to deal with, how they talk to patients, their confidentiality agreements and things like that. And also, I'm glad my mom died because she's a celebrity. She also talks about different celebrities, which kind of piques my interest as well. But it's also like you get to see who has been kind and or unkind to her experiences with these celebrities. I'm not sure whether Jeanette McCurdy will come up with another book soon, but if she does, I feel like I might pick it up. And that was actually the last book that I read for bookoplathon. So let's wrap up this readathon. So in total, I only managed to read 6 out of 9 books for this readathon, and I'm not gonna talk about the 4 books in that previous video. If you want to, you can go to that video and learn about my thoughts about them. This video, I only managed to read Maybe You Should Talk to Someone and I'm Glad My Mom Died. Also, if you're wondering, I don't read nonfiction, but I'm Glad My Mom Died is really one of the best nonfiction I've read in a while that I personally enjoy a lot. Yeah, this is a very subjective thing, but yeah, anyway. I did not get to The Change, I did not get to Daughter of the Deep, and I did not get to Girl Forgotten. I feel like I'm gonna try and finish them before the year ends, but we shall see. So I hope you enjoyed watching this failed attempt at a challenge. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel. I hope you're having a great day and having a great week. Remember to hydrate yourselves, and I will see you in my next video.